Episode 23, How to Get More Reviews. A conversation with Joe Bunting from Story Cartel.
All reviews are good. The way that social proof works, the way that Amazon's algorithm works, the more reviews you have, even if they're 1 star, that shows that your book is being read. So if you have 34 reviews up there, it makes your book look more read than a book that has 2 reviews. And sometimes people trust books that have some negative reviews more than just books with 5-star reviews, because it shows that it's not just your family that's reviewing the book.
I'm Chris Well, and this is DIY Author. You're an author. Maybe you're taking the traditional route. Maybe you've chosen an independent path. Or maybe you want the best of both worlds. Wherever you want to go as a writer, DIY Author is here to help you on your journey with advice, encouragement, and practical tips. Because do it yourself doesn't have to mean do it alone. Welcome to another episode of the DIY Author Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Well. This episode, you'll hear my conversation with the creator of Story Cartel, a platform that helps authors find more reviewers for their books. But first, I want to remind you to download your free media campaign blueprint. If you're promoting your book, it's easy to become overwhelmed. We have created this blueprint and a series of free email lessons to help you focus on the right things and to pace yourself so that you don't become frustrated and give up. Download your free media blueprint at DIYauthor.com/blueprint. And now for our interview. My guest is an author, editor, and ghostwriter. He is also the creator of Story Cartel, which helps authors get more reviews for their books and create deeper connections with readers. In this conversation, we talk about why book reviews, even negative ones, help you sell books, the importance of following up with reviewers, and how Story Cartel helps you connect with a growing circle of readers. And now for my interview with Joe Bunting. And now I'm talking with Joe Bunting of The Right Practice and Story Cartel. That's The Right Practice, WRITE Practice and Story Cartel. And Story Cartel is an online course, and it is a marketing engine that allows an author to give away review copies in exchange for reviews and email addresses. Why don't you say hello to everybody?
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Personally, you are an author yourself. And
yes.
And if I remember the story correctly, you set out to market your work, and you built one thing, and then you said, wait a minute, this isn't what I meant to do, and then you built a different thing. So why don't you kind of tell us that story?
Yeah, so I started The Right Practice in, I think it was 2011. And, I had a bunch of reasons for starting a blog about writing, but one of the major ones was that I wanted to build a platform for my creative writing, for my fiction. I knew that you were supposed to build a platform. I knew that a blog could be a great way to do it, and I had been blogging for several years. And I thought that The Right Practice would be a great place to kind of start building a fiction platform. And, kind of to my surprise, it got popular a lot faster than I expected it to. After 6 months, we had about 1,500 subscribers, and we've grown from there. And, as I started looking around and seeing, people who are really successful in the writing blog sphere, I asked Holly Lyle and some other, major bloggers, Joanna Penn, and I asked them, do the people who read your blog end up buying and reading your fiction? Like, is your blogging platform a good platform for your creative writing? And, what they said was that it wasn't so good, which really surprised me. It wasn't that great of a platform. People who are reading their blog for writing were not, buying their fiction for the most part. Really, they were 2 separate audiences. And so that's when I started to think, I love the right practice. I want to keep doing it, but what else can I do to connect with readers? I've been talking with writers for so long. How can I connect with readers? And that's when I really started thinking seriously about how to create Story Cartel. And Story Cartel is a platform where we connect writers with readers. We have about 2,000 authors that have worked with Story Cartel and over 26,000 readers who read books by these authors, share it with their friends, and leave reviews, which are so important, for sales, for marketing your books online.
Let's mention how the process works, and I've done this, and it's worked very well for me. The author you're giving away free review copies of your ebook. The people who read them, to prove that they read it, they have to post a review, and then there's going to be a prize. There's going to be a drawing on the other side of those people that post a review.
What we found is that readers responded a lot better, and they would leave more reviews if there was some kind of prize at the end. And then it wasn't even like we're not, purchasing reviews. If you're a reader, you sign up for a book, you are entered into the drawing, and if you leave a review, you get another entry. So it's a great opportunity for the community of readers to get really cool things. Then authors pay a little bit up front to list their book on Story Cartel. And the cool thing is that if you're an author and you don't get any reviews on Story Cartel, we will refund your money. It's kind of no risk. There's no way to really guarantee positive reviews unless you're working with your own fans, your own tribe of people. And I highly encourage people to do that. And I would encourage people, if you want to use Story Cartel, to do that, to use your fans to get reviews through Story Cartel, because it's really easy that way. We just make the process really easy. There's one thing I do want to say about negative reviews. All reviews are good. The way that social proof works, the way that Amazon's algorithm works, the more reviews you have, even if they're 1 star, that shows that your book is being read. So if you have 34 reviews up there, it makes your book look more read than a book that has 2 reviews, even if those 2 reviews are 5-star reviews. And sometimes people trust books that have some negative reviews more than just books with 5-star reviews, because it shows that, it's not just your family that's reviewing the book. So I do want to just kind of point out that there's no such thing as a really bad negative review, unless that number one, that negative review is like on the front page, it's voted most helpful. That 1-star review that you got is probably not going to be voted most helpful. So it's not going to show up on your front page on Amazon.
Man, I hope not.
There'd be something really wrong with the world if that was voted
or
most
with
helpful.
my book, maybe. Maybe she was trying to tell me something.
I don't think so. You write good stuff.
Now, something else that happens is, and you and I have talked a little bit about this prior to this recording. I'm probably as guilty of this thing as the other authors you were talking about, but you say, okay, we get these reviews, and then that shouldn't be the end of what the author does with that. What do I need to do once I get these reviews?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, one thing that's really cool about Story Cartel is that we help you not just get reviews, but we really try to help you build your fan base, your tribe, your audience, your email list. So at the end of your promotion, you have this great list of people who have downloaded your book, and you have their email addresses. And what you can do then is you can email them, preferably one at a time, but if you're strapped for time, you can send a blast out to them. But we always find that the conversion rate, the amount of engagement that you get, is so much better if you send one email to one person. It's just people know that there's something wrong with the email if you send a whole blast. And you just introduce yourself and you say, thank you so much for reading my book. Saw that you downloaded it on Story Cartel. Thanks so much for taking the time to read it, for reviewing it. I just wanted to introduce myself. You can find more of my books at my website. I would love it if you subscribed. You might even have an option where if they subscribe to your newsletter, they get a free short story or even a free book. And that's a way where you can not just get a review, but potentially get a reader that you have, for the rest of your writing career. And I think that's really the point. It's less about, these one-off moments, less about getting reviews and more about finding ways to build your audience, finding ways to find those core fans that are going to be readers for life so that they can review 10 books of yours. And that's what we're really hoping that Story Cartel can help authors with, creating those relationships with their readers.
Now, let's start on the kind of the front end of the process. If I put a book up on, but when I put a book up on Story Cartel, what are the best ways, especially if I'm an author without a huge list that can send my own people over there, what are the ways that I can get people to see and know about my book?
Yeah. It's always easier if you have some kind of platform, if you have some kind of audience, even if it's just, a blog or an email list with your friends and family on it. That's a really great start. But, if you were putting your book on just from scratch and hoping to get a lot of great reviews, the most important thing that I coach people on is having a really good cover. You really do judge books by their covers. And it's so important for authors to have kind of that initial, good impression for their book. That's what a cover provides. And so there are a couple of things that I coach people on to, make sure their cover is really good. Hopefully, kind of the bare minimum thing is that you are hiring a good designer. And a good designer will help you with all of these things. It's the best money that you can spend on a book besides, really good editing. And it's so important if you want to sell books, if you want to get reviews. Yeah, having a good cover and a good designer is just so important. But, the top three things that I look for when I'm checking out covers is one is the typography legible? Can you read the title? Is it too small? Because when it's on Amazon and when it's on Story Cartel, it's 200 pixels wide, which is not very wide. It can be really small font. So you want to have the biggest possible font that can fit on there. Can you read your name? Can you read the subtitle? Having a legible cover is so important. The second thing I look for is that, can I tell through the image what the genre is? Can I tell through the typography, the overall design, what genre you're writing in? I recently had a book that was kind of like self-helpy, inspiration book. And it had this phoenix on the cover. It was a really well-designed cover, but it was the cover of a phoenix, and it looked very like fantasy. And it was so confusing because here's this like nonfiction inspiration book. It should not have a phoenix on the cover because it confuses readers. It makes it hard to, get that initial first impression. It makes it hard to find the right readers. And you might end up getting negative reviews because you're targeting the wrong readers. They're going to be feeling betrayed that they're getting not the book that they're looking for. And the third thing that I look at is just, really clean, simple imagery, making sure that, your cover is simple, that there's not too much going on. What we see a lot of times is, a background image with an overlaid image with another overlaid image, and it's like so much going on there. It's really hard to see what the book is really about. So, having a very simple design is really important. So as you're working with your designer that you have hired that's a professional, make sure to focus on those three things: having a legible cover, having a clean design, having a very specific genre on there. And you will get a lot more downloads on Story Cartel. You'll get a lot more sales on Amazon. And hopefully you'll start to build those relationships with readers.
Now, Story Cartel is also a course.
Yeah.
Can you kind of share what all that's about?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and storycartel.com is the tool that we're, helping authors get reviews with, build our platform with. The course is, it's half writing workshop. It's called the Story Cartel course. Super imaginative. We really used our imaginations when coming up with that title. So it's half writing workshop and half kind of marketing, platform building seminar. So we have 8 weeks of lessons. There's really good stuff that really helps you both focus on how to write great stories and how to share those stories with the world. I think most kind of courses out there, they focus on one or the other. If you're in an MFA program, you're just focused on writing. If you're in a marketing program, you're just focused on marketing. And what we really want to do is put them together, because I think, the best marketing that you can do is writing a great story. And there's all these great tools and all these great people who want to help you get that story out into the world. So you really can't separate them. So it's an 8-week course, and there's a really amazing community that's kind of come out of it. And we have, writing groups full of people who meet almost every week, and they're from all over the world, people from Israel and California and New York and Singapore who get together, who have come out of the Story Cartel course, and they critique each other's writing and they encourage each other to keep going. We've had a lot of authors who have come out and, published their first book, who have been doing it for a long time but haven't made that push to finally get their work out into the world. We've had people, get traditional publishing deals, coming out of the course. So it's a really cool community. It's a really cool program. We have a lot of great guest interviewers, publishers, and people from the publishing industry that are sharing what they've learned about how to build your platform, how to sell books, how to create your reader base. Yeah, I'm just grateful to be, part of it. It's been a really cool experience for me personally.
Let's come back to you as an author. On your personal site, you're listed as a writer and a ghostwriter and an editor.
Yeah.
And then you have Story Cartel and you have the Write Practice. How do you still find time to write?
Oh my gosh, good question. Finding time to write is every writer's struggle, right? Whether you have a day job, whether you're a professional writer, or whether, it's just something you do for fun. It's still hard for me, and it's my full-time job, finding time to write. So I think you just have to find those pockets during the day and really commit to creating time for your writing. So it's always a challenge, and fortunately, we love what we do. So that makes it worth it.
Other than Story Cartel, what is the other best thing you've done to promote your work?
What I found is that the best kind of 1, 2, 3 punch for promotion is first you start building up your tribe, your list. Doing that through a blog, through a Facebook page, but mostly through email, trying to build an email list. Whether that's one person, whether that's 100 people, whether that's 1,000 people, just getting it going and keeping in touch with them and, building those relationships with your readers so they expect to hear from you and are excited to hear from you when they do hear from you. And then the next thing is to get a lot of reviews. When you launch your book, get as many reviews as you can. And then the next step is to do some advertising. Most authors would like to do advertising at the beginning of their launch, just as soon as they can, or they don't want to do any advertising at all, or they don't really know how to do it. I think having reviews is so important, and you really shouldn't be doing advertising unless you have a good number of reviews, because you really won't get that result that you're looking for. Because people, like I said, it's about social proof. People want to see that your book is being read, that your book is something that their neighbor might be reading, that their friends might be reading. People like to read what other people are reading. So having that social proof on your Amazon page, on your Barnes & Noble page, on your Goodreads page is so important. And then doing advertising through things like BookBub have been really successful for me. Getting 100+ reviews on my book. I did a BookBub promotion and sold 1,000 copies in a day. So it's really fun to have kind of days like that. And advertising can be really effective when it's paired with that social proof from reviews.
Joe, what are the best ways for people to look for you online?
You can go to the Write Practice. If you're a writer, I would love to, see you over there.
Is that thewritepractice.com?
Yeah, thewritepractice.com.
With the word "the" in it?
Yes, it's the.
Okay, so THEWRITE practice.com.
Yep, and Story Cartel, storycartel.com. We love to see your book up there. And then personally, you can just Google Joe Bunting, and you'll find me.
Joe Bunting, thank you very much for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you for joining us this episode. Be sure and catch every episode of DIY Author. We're available in iTunes and Stitcher, and of course we have our own dedicated app. Just go to your favorite app store and search for DIY Author. This is Chris Well saying thanks for listening. I hope you'll join me again. This has been DIY Author. Please visit us online at DIYauthor.com and be sure to sign up for our email newsletter. If you enjoyed this program, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. Until next time, keep writing. And remember, do it yourself doesn't have to mean do it alone.